That's all right.
You got it.
Okay. Next, there are no budgetary transfer or amendments, so next on the agenda in old business is Bald Hill State Water. Would you like to comment on that, Mr. Nugent?
The Bull Hill Estates Water is, been an ongoing request for the town to establish a water district is what they're looking for, or otherwise an indication that we will not establish a water district and they want to establish a private water company. So, this has been something that off and on. I believe the last time we dealt with Bald Hill, the plan was with the engineer to have them design the system so that it would be capable of being adopted as a water system and putting in whatever infrastructure the town would want. I honestly don't know where that stands, but this is another letter requesting the town create a water district. So we would need, input from the engineer if that was the direction the town wanted to go in.
Anybody have any particular feelings on it?
I don't think the town's in a position to form a water district right now. I understand there will be language in that development that should in the future the town is in a better position to form a water district and to oversee the obligations involved with the water district, that it would be easier to be done. So I don't think right now to form a water district is the right idea.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Mary. First of all, I think they're looking for an answer by February
First.
right? So we're kind of up against a stiff deadline, and I think we'd have to look at, the totality of the whole water table over there before we took it over, because I think what they're kind of saying is, hey, you can only use, also, it could be used for Baldwin Estates, but you could also use it for other future developments, and I'm not quite sure, the water table would support that, and I think we really need an in-depth study before we went down that road, so I'm really not in favor of it at this point either.
Okay, any other discussion? No? Okay. Move on, next item is Bailey Farm Road. There was a meeting between John Cherney, Mayor Welly, myself, and John Mulligan, the highway super from the village of Harriman. There seems to be a philosophical agreement in place to open Bailey Farm sometime in mid-spring. There is currently about under $10,000 that we estimate it would cost us to open it up. It would be a one-way coming out. Wait, no, it's a one-way going in. One-way going in, I'm sorry. And no egress from it.
Except for emergency.
Except for emergency vehicles.
And that's coming from Melody Lane into target area.
Right. So, John is in the process of obtaining pricing for the signs. Harriman is in the process of obtaining pricing for the striping. Already Harriman has ended up repairing a curb or curbs over there, and they also cleaned out both the town's and the village's catch basins already. So it's moving forward. We'll give you an update as soon as we get any more information.
Signs are ordered. Signs are ordered.
Signs are
I
ordered.
ordered the signs.
Okay.
And they'll be up before, we could black bat them.
Right.
So they could be up and in place, and then when they're ready to open, then they can, take the badge off.
Okay, thank you. And there was a large number of signs as far as the diversity of them, correct? There's about 20 different ones. No left-hand turn.
No
right
left-hand turn, no do not enter, right turn only.
Yeah.
Probably 15 signs altogether,
Okay,
right in that ballpark. I don't have the list in front of me.
okay. Anybody else want to add anything?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that's a project that's been ongoing for years, and I'm glad that we're finally being able to proceed and make it that one way.
Yeah, good. Okay. The next two items, I will defer to Mr. Nugent, our library contract and payment. I know our payment has traditionally not been made till after February 5th, or our first meeting in February.
February 5th, a few years ago, the town board made a resolution that the fire district contract and the library would not receive their money till February 5th. That gives me time as the tax collector. By law, I have to pay off the town first. So that gives us the time to make sure that everything is in order.
Okay. Any other thing you'd like to add?
No, I mean, if the board wants to authorize you to execute the agreement subject to approval of our office, you can make a motion to do that tonight with the payment to be made after February 5th.
Okay. Any,
I'll make a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute and sign the library contract.
I'll
With
second that.
payment to follow February 5th or thereafter.
All right, I'll second that for you.
any other discussion? Call the question?
Aye.
So moved. Ambulance contract, which I understand is a little trickier.
Yes, Supervisor, the ambulance contract has been tricky for 2 years now. There hasn't been a formal contract. Initially, the ambulance corps indicated that for the 2016, we would execute the same agreement we had had in prior years with language that we would review the issue of fees and who was responsible or ultimately accountable for fees that were collected. We drafted the contracts, the ambulance corps then rejected the idea of signing the 2016 contract, and they were basically looking to change it altogether to remove references to the general municipal law, section 122B, which is the provision under which those contracts were established. We have been back and forth with legal counsel for the ambulance corps. Most recently, we wrote a letter, basically asking them to provide authority for their position, which they have not done yet. They provided briefs from a case upstate they had that didn't really support their position, so we're looking to execute the contract with the language that we included, and we're waiting for a response from their counsel right now on the town's position or what their response is. So we're basically out 2 years, and we need to now look at the 18 contract, so we hopefully just wrap it all up, with all 3 years, with whatever the resolution's going to be.
Okay, so to me, it seems as though and this is not any reflection on the workers, it seems to be a holdup with their attorney.
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue about, and it's an issue in other ambulance corps, it's about the fees that get collected. I think the other issue in this town was that, as I recall, Mr. Martin had indicated that the town did not have the financials of the ambulance corps. And the town, even under the existing agreement, is supposed to have the financials to see what's being collected, because you're funding the ambulance corps in a budget, yet you don't know what they have in assets due to collection of the fees. So that was the other holdup, and I don't know if that information was ever given to the town, but that's something that has to be looked at in order to be able to finalize these agreements.
Okay. Any other discussion on that?
Yeah, I think, again, we, as a community, we support the EMTs and
Absolutely.
their executive, their executive board and what they do, and they do a great job here, but, this is obviously something that we've got to get squared away.
Okay. All right, next item, Boathouse in Monbassia Park. I've been approached, and I don't want to get into too much detail, but I've been approached by someone who, current town employee, who has interest in overseeing it, both the boathouse and the Monbassia Park. Someone who has an extensive amount of experience in this type of work, and I think that we should discuss this in detail in executive session, because I think there should be a small stipend associated with it. It's something that will go from, let's say, April through October. So you're talking 7 months.
October?
Well, maybe not the boathouse, but Montbation Park is still gonna be used,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Soccer season.
Yeah, soccer and baseball still, you got fall baseball,
Yeah.
so. So we could discuss that in, ES. Etz we have preliminary plans, if anyone wants a copy, I'd be happy to give my copy up, for Etz we're in the process of getting cost estimates to move forward with this, and we're also trying to set up a meeting with our judges to go over the court layout. Presently on the plan, the court clerks do not have an office, but there is room for a little expansion, just as you walk into Etz on the left-hand side. And it's something that will comfortably fit 3 court officers. There was an extensive amount of work put into it. On the plan currently, there's actually 13 juror seats. We only need 8. We're not doing any federal cases, so some modifications will be made there. And the judges have also requested the possibility of exploring a personal bathroom for court and judges. The layout is such that when you walk into the worship room at Etz basically where up against the front wall of Etz which is where the stone is, currently that's a proposed juror's room. That may be adjusted depending upon how much space we gain from adjusting the juror's box. There's also a juror's separate entrance, and there's separate entrance for our judges and potential prisoners who would pull up and be somewhere between 12 to 18 feet away from the entrance to their holding area. And then they would actually exit the holding area and go right to the defendant's bench or table with their attorney. So there's a lot of tweaks that we could do with this, and we're not gonna rush to judgment on it, but I think it's a great start. Andy Warren from MHE has been really diligent in moving this along, and we're in the process, like I said, if I said it before, I think I said we're in the process of setting up a meeting for the judges so that they can have their input in it. The town offices, right now, the way it's laid out, upstairs, you'd have your town clerk's offices. There'd be 2 offices there, one for the deputy clerks and one for the town clerk. There'll be a finance office upstairs. There'll be a conference room, an office for the secretary to the treasurer, and an office for the supervisor. The meeting room would also entertain a permanent dais that would be built in. The cost of this, once we get the estimates, we will let everyone know, but we have also applied through Senator Larkin, and we're probably gonna apply through the county for some funding. And Senator Larkin was very instrumental in getting us $275,000 for the sweeper that we lost through a fire, and that was done basically by John Sherney. He took the bull by the horns and initiated all that, and set up the meeting with Senator Larkin. So that sweeper was delivered, and although you haven't used it yet, I know guys are antsy to use it, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So if anybody has any questions on that, please express them during public comment. Does the board have anything they want to add?
No, I just gonna look over, make some suggestions like everybody else, and that's about it.
Okay, got some great news today. Our highway department approved the contract that was discussed last Friday. Mr. Colon and myself, along with Mr. Nugent, our counsel, had a meeting. We hashed out an agreement that was very amicable, we believe, between both parties, and they approved it, so we need a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign that contract.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Long overdue,
Long overdue.
long
Yeah.
overdue.
We should,
Lots of drama over.
Yeah,
Council,
well,
should I
just a little.
discuss the details, the basic details in it?
You can.
Okay, so it's a 4-year contract going back to January 1st, 2017, and the payouts are as follows: 0% for last year, 4% for 2018, and then 2019 and 2020 are 2% each. We also added clothing that the town will provide the highway department so that everyone can look uniform. It was something that both, I think their union rep and the town wanted, so that everybody looks, uniformed. The uniforms will be a yellow, John, what's the term they use for that? It's,
There's fluorescent, there's different types of striping.
there's a safety, what's that?
High visibility.
Okay, yeah, right, I'm sorry, yep, high visibility clothing, so that our men can be protected, so. So without any further ado, we want to act on it?
Yeah, call the question.
Call the question?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. We need to appoint a delegate and alternate delegate for the Association of Towns in February.
Yeah.
You want to do it, or?
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter.
I'll make a motion that,
We're both, you're going, right?
Yeah.
I'm going, so.
Yeah. Make him the delegate.
make a motion that,
On the
nominate,
That's all right.
supervisor for, to be the delegate and, Councilman Cologne to be the alternate.
Second.
Mary?
I'll approve.
No, we're looking for a second.
I'll second.
For a second.
All right. Call the question?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so moved. I'm going to, Town of Monroe Democratic Committee use